Hi, I'm Anne. Leslie was 4 years older than me, and I had some specific memories of Leslie and in different categories. But the first one is, my gosh, Leslie was so smart. I'll never forget when, and she was at Leland High School, and I watched her as she was in high school and her doing her homework and all, and she was so smart, and she practically probably got all A's. When I got into high school, she helped me so much with my English essays. I remember our teacher, Mrs. Magenta, who Leslie had also. Leslie helped me by proofreading all my essays and offered suggestions on how to correct my word choices, and that was really helpful. Leslie was so kind. I have a specific memory of when my family was vacationing at Lake Tahoe. Thinking Leslie was about 11 years old at the time, so I was 6 or so. And when we got up to Lake Tahoe, Leslie presented me with a box, and I opened up the box, and inside Leslie had hand sewed a rag doll for me, and the rag doll was complete with a wardrobe she had made. And I was a young person. I was just so like, wow, that was so kind of you. My sister Leslie was very resourceful and creative. Our family raised chickens for many years, and we needed to make use of the chickens at times for meals. We did eat some of the roosters, and we all hated to eat the chickens. We could tell that they tasted different. We hated eating our pets. One time Leslie made a sweet and sour chicken dish. She put raisins and walnuts in it. She just tried to camouflage the flavor of the roosters by making a whole different recipe. And she thought she could fool us, but we could still tell that we were eating our pet. That I'll never forget that. This is so special to me. Leslie was totally my spiritual role model. Leslie attended San Jose State University, and as a freshman, she was introduced to Christ through Campus Crusade for Christ, and she became a Christian. It must have been about 1970 or 1971. And when at home, she sat down with me soon after that, so I was 15, and she shared with me a little booklet called The Four Spiritual Laws, and I thought, wow, I need Jesus. And so just shortly after that, I knelt down in my bedroom and I accepted Christ as my Savior. And just through the years, she had continually been a help to me when I had questions about my Christian walk and just my life in general. She and I shared back and forth verses, and I found it very consoling and very helpful, and we had a very heart-to-heart, we had a lot of heart-to-heart talks together. And the last time I talked to Leslie was this past Father's Day, and I'm so thankful that I had that talk with her. And our last words to each other was, I said, "Leslie, I love you," and she said, "Anne, I love you."
Well, my name is Charlie Herbert. I'm Leslie's older brother, and I'd love to talk about some of the things that Leslie did as a trailblazer in the family. The first thing that happened with her as a trailblazer was she was the first girl and my first sister. I was the only one born that didn't have a sibling. When she came along, that all changed, and then there were 3 more girls, and then Stan after her. And then Leslie did an awesome job in her schoolwork, going through school, and in high school. If she wasn't the class valedictorian, she was probably second in line because she was a very good student. And after high school, she got involved in her college work at San Jose State and was privileged to be approached by a young lady from Campus Crusade for Christ, who led Leslie to the Lord. And what a change that made in her life. And then in turn, she trailblazed on in introducing me to the Lord and the whole rest of her siblings, and we all know and love the Lord now, so we're so thankful for that. She was also involved in working at Sequoia National Park I believe in the food service area for several different summers while she was in college. And it may be difficult for some of us to realize now how much she loved to walk, and how far she could walk. I remember going up to visit her at the park one summer, and she and I took a walk that she had taken before by herself. We walked from Giant Forest all the way to Alta Peak and back in one day, which was about, as I recall, somewhere around a 20 to a 22 mile round trip. I believe she also walked by herself all the way to Moose Lake and back in one day. Now, I've been to Moose Lake, and it took us a whole day with backpacks on to walk from Moose Lake back to Giant Forest. And here she did it in about one day. She had to. And that's about 30 miles. So she was quite a walker, just a trailblazing young lady to do that. And then later, as she courted with Dennis and enjoyed their time together, and then a lovely young lady came along, Annette. And so Leslie was trailblazing there in that she was the first children in the Herbert family to have children of her own. So Annette became the first grandchild. So Annette, in a way, is a trailblazer also. And I believe Leslie, as she was before marriage, was involved in working with Wycliffe Bible translators in Brazil. There again, she was the first one to move away from home, even if it was for a short time. In this case, I believe it was about a year and a half, a year and 3/4. But just an awesome gal. She was a wonderful sister, a wonderful cook, and we're going to miss her dearly. So, thank you.
Hi, this is Brenda. I'm Leslie's youngest sister. Before Leslie was a wife and mother and grandmother, she was my big sister. I have many fond memories of baking in the kitchen with her, learning to sew with her, gardening with her, and when we were small, playing dolls with her and my two middle sisters in her bedroom. We'd get a couple of old cardboard boxes and make a whole house out of them, and would play for hours, or so it seemed to us, dressing and redressing our dolls with clothes, many of which were handmade by Leslie. Another memory is of her spending all day making a Hungarian torte, and I think this was probably when she was in college. She painstakingly baked 12 quarter-inch cake layers, filled it with a rich chocolate frosting, and topped it with a caramel topping, which kind of hardened on top. It was incredibly delicious, but I don't think she ever has made it again, as far as I know. It was just too much time. Skipping ahead a few years to when I was out of high school, and Leslie encouraged me to apply to work the summer in Sequoia National Park. She had already done this 2 times prior, and she thought that I would really like it. She was right. Again, she showed her sewing skills when she made curtains for my cabin, and she gave me lots of tips for cooking on the wood-burning stove in the cabin. How she loved the mountains and nature. In 2009, when my husband Robert and I visited she and Dennis in northern Arizona, she was a gracious hostess while we visited, and we loved sightseeing with them to the Grand Canyon and Page, Arizona. Leslie was sincere and humble about her faith in Jesus. Her caring nature and positive words of encouragement to me throughout my life were greatly appreciated. I will miss my big sister.
Hi, this is Rosemary. The photo you'll see is of Leslie and me on my wedding day, June 4, 1977. She was my maid of honor. At the time, she was 25 and I was 23. I so looked up to her as my confident, bright, and highly motivated older sister. I'm immensely grateful for the rare time we were able to spend together 3.5 years ago when she and Dennis came down to Tucson to support me when my husband David was undergoing risky major surgeries. She was just the shoulder to cry on that I literally needed. And while she was there, we were able to have a heart-to-heart talk about some of our insecurities growing up. In many ways, Leslie was a leader among us six siblings, and she often initiated fun, creative activities. A standout memory is a summer afternoon. She decided it would be great fun for us 4 sisters to dress up little brother Stan as a tough old lady using things we had around the house. Stan was about 4 or 5 at the time, I'd guess, and he was initially happy to comply. We put him in an old apron and women's wedge sandals, then covered his head with a bonnet. We tucked the doll's wig under the bonnet with some of its hair sticking out around his forehead for bangs. For the finishing touch, we rolled up some paper, forming it into a cigarette. If memory serves, we wanted to do more to poor Stan, perhaps applying lipstick and earrings, but he would have no more of it. We laughed and laughed at his tough lady look. Mom thought Stan looked so funny that she took a photo of him posing with a cigarette, wearing this getup. I still smile when I think about it, and it's all because of Leslie's wonderful creative spark.
Hello, I'm Stan. I'm Leslie's youngest brother, her only youngest brother. I have maybe a few short, funny stories about my older sister. There was one morning back when I was in junior high. I was getting up very early because our school was on split session at the time, so we were starting school a little bit before 7 a.m. And my brother and I were sharing a bedroom at the time, and we both woke up hearing loud kitchen noises at about 1:30 or 2 in the morning. And we looked at each other. We both woke up and thinking, "What the heck? What's going on? Who's in the kitchen at this time?" And we laid there for a bit, and it sounded like Leslie. And you can tell certain noises because she got up and did certain breakfast things every morning and got going for her day at San Jose State. And so one of us finally got up and went out into the kitchen area, and there was Leslie in the kitchen doing her thing in the morning, getting ready to go for the day. And Leslie, what are you doing? What the heck are you doing? What are you doing? And she said, "Well, I'm just getting ready for the day. Do my breakfast, getting ready to make lunch, and head off to school." And well, Leslie, it's 2 a.m. And she had this startled, "Really, it is?" I said, "Well, yeah." She said, "Well, wow." She said, "I just woke up and assumed it was time to get up and get going, so I just got up, never even looked at the clock." So that was that was one funny story. Another one, we were on a family backpacking trip out of Kennedy Meadows, and Leslie and I went for a day hike. And we were on a pretty steep mountain at the time, and she was above me on the mountain, and she dislodged a pretty good sized rock. And I saw this rock coming down, and it actually, I was watching it come down. I was trying to stay out of its way and dodging left and right a little bit, and but it landed and fell right on my hand and kept going down the mountain. It took a big chunk out of my hand. It was pretty sore at the time. So I accused her of trying to injure me for quite a while after that, but of course it was all an accident. She felt bad, but I said, hey, don't worry, there was nothing done on purpose, nothing you could do about it. So, but she was a great sister. She did a lot of things to help all of us. Helped a lot around the house. She was great at helping getting meals ready and keep all the other 3 sisters going. Couldn't have had a better sister.